So we now turn to the Q&A portion of our webinar, and we want to take the time to answer questions people have been sending in throughout the broadcast. It's not too late to ask your questions or offer comments. In fact, we encourage this. Please use the question panel or the chat box. We want to share your ideas, and we want you to give us your insights on what you see going on in Canada. So the first question we had was, this one's for you, Susanna. So what is the best way to leverage LinkedIn for recruiting new employees?
LinkedIn's a great tool and actually has a LinkedIn recruiter built into it, which is you can find on talent.linkedin.com/recruiter. And it's a paid service, but the tool allows recruiters unlimited search capability of the entire LinkedIn network, which is a great way to go and find candidates that you might not have found any other way. You can contact the candidates directly, and it allows the tool allows you to manage LinkedIn pipelines as well. So also don't consider that you want to attract candidates to your organization. So make sure your organizational profile highlights the things that you want people to know about your organization, the brand, the value proposition. You can also post positions there and link it to your corporate website. Join in LinkedIn groups and start getting your name out there and attracting people to your organization. Look for ways to get introduced to people outside of your network and get a hold of the inactive candidates, the passive candidates that are out there. A couple little tips as well. Ensure that your account settings are set up for public viewing. You want to be able to be found. If you've got them set the wrong way, nobody's going to find you. Ensure that you're searchable by company size, location, industry, all of those types of things. Make sure that it links to your corporate website, particularly if you have a career site. And then get in there, start groups, pages, and discussions, and just build your profile, and people will find you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Our next question is around how many professionals we actually telephoned for this study, and I'll take that one. We talked to 50 professionals, and they were divided into 3 groups, either sales or marketing, procurement, or human resources for the study. All right. Question number 3. When talking about a cost, benefit, and benchmark analysis for HR, what, in your opinion, are the aspects of the analysis that mean the most to the CFO, the VP, the HR, or the CEO? Karen, would you like to take that one?
I'm sorry, I could not hear the full question. Can you repeat that, please?
I'll repeat it. So when talking about a cost-benefit analysis and benchmark analysis for HR, what are the aspects of the analysis that mean the most to the people you report to the CFO, to the VP of HR, to the CEO?
That's a great question. I think there are several components to understanding how you benchmark and the communication to the C-levels, both financial operations and administration. The first I would look at is, where are those areas of just simply cycle time improvements and efficiency improvements. Effectiveness improvements can be more subjective. We do benchmark effectiveness improvements as well. So in the benchmarking tool that you'll see, we do relate specific metrics to effectiveness as well as efficiency. The improvement percentages then that determine how well you're covered now versus how important it is to your organization. That's an important key to understanding where are your big wins. Because if an item, an area of improvement is not strategic to the organization, particularly strategic to a financial or business operations objective, then we can flush that out based on importance versus coverage of that particular best practice. And that's something we also benchmark. And then the final area would be looking at the technology platform itself and the efficiencies and cost savings there. So those are some of the thoughts that I would say where benchmarking needs to cover all of the above, not just cycle time improvements, for example.
Susanna, did you want to add something?
No, I think so.
All right, perfect. Thank you for that. Our next question is for you, Susanna. So when you refer to focusing on the back-end HR processes first, can you elaborate a little bit, please, on what systems or processes you would focus on first?
Sure. Well, the first thing to remember is no technology can fix a bad process. So the first step is to look at the core processes that aren't working before you implement the technology and get a good process in place, or it's thought through before you even think about the technology. But in terms of where I would start, I would look and see if you have an accurate system of record for employee information. So basically, can you pull it, how easily can you pull that information? How much faith do you have in the data that's there? If you do not have that, that is the very first place that I would start, because without having clean data to start with, the rest just falls down. You would also need to look at how you do your payroll, because the other thing you want to think about is how integrated your payroll information is with other information warehousing. So is it consistent across your different systems? And then how much manual entry is required? And then look at the processes that require heavy manual entry and look at automate, really can you automate those first? And then of course, where are the biggest errors occurring right now in your data? So it really is, your very first starting point is really taking a look at your employee record.
Right. Did you want to add anything to that, Karen?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, so the next question actually goes to Karen, and this is more around a mentoring program. So can you share some best practices around mentoring programs?
Sure. One of the things that we take very seriously at SAP internally is our ability to associate mentoring programs with succession planning. So from a process perspective, all of our mentoring programs are aligned with our succession plan. When an individual is marked as a successor, we do initiate the process of identifying an appropriate mentor multiple levels up in the organization, and depending upon that particular individual's development plan, the process of identification of the mentor is key. Outside of the identification of the mentor, then it's the actual process itself of supporting both the employee as the mentee and the mentor themselves, as well as the employee's manager and involvement in that process. So these are some of the things we do at SAP that we believe are best practices, but there are many more components to best practicing in a mentor component. But the first is just really getting that foundation in place. I think associating the mentoring program to an actual process like succession planning and development planning for the individual.
Perfect. And on to Susanna.
Yeah, the only thing I would add as well is really to be clear on what you want the mentoring program to accomplish. There's many different goals of a mentoring program, and really being clear on what your objective is from the start, as Karen mentioned, is about succession planning, will help to guide how you go about putting mentors and employees together. And then the notion of how formal or informal that you want to make it is key as well.
Perfect. All right, I have one last question. So for an organization that has no formal succession planning or knowledge transfer, how do we go about transferring knowledge for people who are moving out? What are the key steps? Karen?
So a couple of key steps I would point out is to look at the type of job, the job family, and look at your critical job families and determine for that particular job family whether the worker makeups, what's your worker type look like, and what is the makeup of the learner in general. Of course, everyone has different learning styles, so the ability to deliver learning in multiple channels, whether that's through a mobile device, whether that's a smartphone, whether it's an iPad. Certainly we see that as much more prevalent today. But also, when is classroom learning necessary? When are tools necessary to be, take the employee through guided procedures. I think the critical thing to start with, though, is to look at your worker type, look at the job type, look at the critical roles that they play, and deliver training appropriate to how that worker works in general, and provide multi-channels to the worker.
Perfect, thank you. All right, and those are all the questions that we have today. I'm going to transfer it over to James for some closing words on the webinar.
Well, thanks very much, and again, thank you all for attending. It's always useful for us to get feedback in terms of the research we do, and we look for innovative ways to get it out into the hands of the people that can use it. So thank you for taking the time. If you want a rebroadcast of this webinar or you want to share it with others, once again, the site is www.shiftingvalues.ca. And I was just on the site. People are beginning to join. There's some polls there you can take. There is lots of great information and downloads that you can look at, along with a whole set of videos. So I urge you to go there. So just to kind of wrap it up, I think what we talked about today in terms of HR has more to do with the changes in the way society works, and the need for you as an organization and as the HR professionals to be able to support those changes and create an environment where people love to come to work, where they have the tools that they need, and where they can connect and collaborate with each other and with their customers in the way that they want to, regardless of whether they're boomers, whether they're Gen Y, or whether they're just joining the workforce. Your customers and your employees are surrounded by technology, and Canadian employers must become technology enthusiasts to realize the productivity gains that we need. Addressing how employees can be more customer-centric while having access to the right information and solving problems requires us all as leaders to think outside traditional paradigms. And finally, recruiting, retaining, and maximizing talent requires strong leadership, people vested in developing the skills of their employees, people who embody the values of the organization, and who can clearly articulate a vision of the future. Thank you all very much.